Breaking today, Meghan Markle's fashion freeze-out. She has been dumped by Balenciaga just 1 year after she thought, I'm going to invite myself appearance at Paris Fashion Week was going to change her career for good. That isn't the case. Paula Froelich of Paula Froelich Uncensored has revealed Meghan Markle's fashion front row freeze out. She's going to be here to reveal all of the juicy details imminently. But let me kick off with her report. She says Balenciaga designer Pierpaolo Piccioli's highly anticipated haute couture debut for Balenciaga took place this week in the scenic courtyard and palatial steps in Paris. It was stunning, awe-inspiring, just perfection. Paula's very fashion-y source said. The triumphant return to form compete with a gown made of 24,150 hand-cut petals and a beautiful rooster feather reimagining of a 1967 archival look was met with widespread acclaim from the press and earned an emotional standing ovation from an audience that included real front-row stars like Demi Moore, Cynthia Erivo, and Naomi Watts. But don't miss a single update on the stories that actually matter. I'm breaking down the news every day, so make sure you subscribe to never miss a beat. Click that subscribe button right now. But as Paula rightfully notes, noticeably one person was not at the show. His supposed good friend and collaborator, according to her, the Duchess of Sussex. And this is where it gets juicy. Paula's source revealed. Oh God, no! She was not invited. Not after what happened last time. Paula makes the conclusion that Meghan has now been fully shunned by the fashion world. The source added there's no way Pierre would have her back after last year. He wants it to be about the clothes, not her. Remember, he quietly deflated the whole mythology in an interview with The Cut at his after party, saying him and Meghan met some years ago. They've been texting ever since. And she reached out to say she would love to come to the show. So while his team agreed to pay a reported $250,000. Now, look, I know to you or me, that sounds like a lot, but Paula says it's for her flights, hotels, cars, and outfits. Actually, not that much in this world. She says, considering it was part of the PR boost for the show, no one knew it would be hijacked. But fashion observers were irate. A collaborator? Who does she think she is? Beyonce? My source last. Remember, Beyonce had a long-term relationship with the designer who now heads Gucci and worked closely with him during the Renaissance tour. During that tour, Beyonce wore a couture gown covered in thousands of crystals that was designed specifically for her and that stage. But Paula's source added, here is Pierre's first show for Balenciaga, and she basically claims some sort of credit for it. It's unbelievable. No way would he have had her back for couture, never again. And Meghan could have gone. Paula revealed she was in Europe, not in London, supporting her husband during what turned into his worst week in 30 years. And while she had the children with her, she travels with a nanny, so it would have been fine. She just wasn't invited again. Meanwhile, she also wasn't invited to a Chanel event, which took place at Highgrove during the time she and Harry were in residence. The legendary fashion house just celebrated the graduating fellows of its art embroidery fellowships in partnership with the King's Foundation in the King's own gardens, and Meghan was not there. She must have been too busy with the cookbook the Times of London reported she has been working on. So, Paula, look, it has been an astonishing week for the British royal family and for Prince Harry and Meghan in so many ways. Lots and lots of ups. Let's be honest, because they did get the meeting with the king. Meghan got this completely unlikely and bizarre daytime Emmy nomination for a TV show that I certainly didn't think was a daytime series, but chalk that up as a little win. But the lows, Paula, the lows are so low. The Dragon Slayer lost his case against the Mail, and Meghan Markle, you reveal exclusively, completely rejected by the fashion world. And this has got to hurt Paula, because 9 months ago, this was meant to be the reinvention of Meghan Markle, the end of Was Never, and the start of this dream that she had of transferring into high fashion. Not going to happen, you say. The latest bombshells from Harry and Meghan that the Montecito Mafia and the rest of the media are desperate to hide. Subscribe right now for the real story with zero spin and zero censorship.
No, not at all. And also, let's be real clear about being nominated for an Emmy.
Yeah,
shall
please.
we?
What's going on here, Paula?
It's a marketing campaign, as is everything, as is all of their awards, whatnot. You know, it's almost as if Harry has turned into a professional award winner. And Emmys are quite easy to get nominated for, to be fair, as long as you've got the money or the production house has the money, or Netflix has the money to promote it to the marketing. It's a very opaque process. And frankly, almost everyone gets nominated for an Emmy.
So let's talk about Balenciaga, because she pinned her hopes on this being the house. Now, our understanding 9 months ago, Paula, and I certainly reported at the time, that she had tried lots and lots of different fashion houses, but Balenciaga was the one. Yet, as usual, and this reminds me a bit like when she did the guest edit of Vogue with Edward Enninful back in her time within the royal family. Anytime she gets close to that world, she manages to be so repulsive in her behavior. All of these fashion types, and let's be honest, Paula, I mean, they are up their own arse. They are. You know, I can't really deal with fashion types, but they are repulsed by her behavior, and they will not put up with it.
Absolutely. You spot on, Dan. And the funniest thing is that she really thought this was going to be yet another reinvention. It would really help her one-off. And she knew one-off was coming. But the thing is she sucked all the oxygen out of the room. Her behavior was so bizarre. She showed up to the original, his debut show. This was Pierpaolo's first show for Balenciaga. It was a very big deal. She showed up late. Now, number one, you don't show up late, but you definitely don't show up late when Anna Wintour shows up half an hour early. Anna Wintour is kind of seen as the period on the end of the sentence. Nothing comes after Anna. So she sat down and everyone just sat there and waited and waited. And finally, Meghan waltzes in and with her head held high as if she's royalty and stops, does all the photos, all of this, and makes it even later, then sits down, proceeds to giggle as a model trips on the runway. She was quickly silenced by her good friend Marcus. And it just was so bizarre. She didn't even go to the
That was
after
so
party.
crude, wasn't it? It's like she is a mean girl bully, Paula.
Yes, 100%. She didn't even bother going to the after party. Her team let it slip that she was a collaborator with Pierpaolo. And it's just very odd. You don't take away from someone's big achievement on their first big show for a major design house. So, you know, this time around, they were like, yeah, no, this was his debut couture show. It was very important for him. And it just wasn't going to happen.
Never again. In the cutthroat, hyper-exclusive world of Parisian high fashion, those two words are the ultimate death sentence. And this week, industry insiders are whispering that those exact words have been officially stamped on the file of Meghan Markle. If you thought the drama in Montecito was limited to royal courtrooms and late-night podcasts, think again. The Duchess of Sussex's grand plan to conquer the absolute peak of the high fashion world has just collided head-on with a brutal, freezing reality. While A-list icons like Demi Moore, Cynthia Erivo, and Naomi Watts were flaunting their front-row seats at Pierpaolo Piccioli's highly anticipated haute couture debut for Balenciaga in Paris, one person was noticeably, glaringly absent: Meghan Markle. According to explosive new reports from seasoned journalist Paula Froelich, Meghan wasn't just busy. She was pointedly, deliberately left off the guest list. To understand why the fashion elite have slammed their doors shut, we have to look back to October 2025. This was supposed to be the moment that cemented Meghan Markle as a global style icon. She made a surprise, highly publicized appearance at Paris Fashion Week, specifically to support her good friend Pierpaolo Piccioli as he took the reins at Balenciaga. Meghan arrived looking sleek in a custom, sculptural ivory Balenciaga outfit with a cape-style shoulder. On the surface, it looked like a massive PR victory. But behind the scenes, her behavior reportedly left a deeply sour taste in the mouths of the brand's executives. First, there was the arrival. In high fashion, timing is everything. It is a highly choreographed ballet of egos, status, and seats. Yet, Meghan reportedly arrived late, very late. And she didn't just keep the models waiting, she kept the legendary Vogue editor-in-chief, Anna Wintour, waiting. Anna Wintour, who is famous for arriving a strict 30 minutes early to shows, reportedly had to sit and wait while Meghan made her dramatic, slow-motion entrance, stopping to pose for cameras as if she were the guest of honor.
No, I think he has made a smart move, although it was a very, I would say, unwise move to have her in the first place. I mean, Paula, people should never forget that she used that moment to very obviously, I think, stoke the deep emotional trauma still suffered by her husband, and also attempt to create all of the wrong headlines by purposefully posting on Instagram her in a car on a Saturday night, driving very near the tunnel where Princess Diana was killed. I believe she also attempted to create a paparazzi chase that didn't happen, but she desperately wanted to happen because that's why she was so obvious in the way that she came in and out of the hotel. And surely, Paula, given the headlines that created, Balenciaga must have looked at that behavior as well and thought this has a negative impact on our brand.
Well, they learned, as many other brands and people have learned, that unfortunately, when doing business with Meghan, there's no attention for anyone else but Meghan. And it is almost always negative. Now, a lot of people assumed that because she has a high Q rating and everyone knows who she is, that it would get them a lot of attention and the PR would rub off on them. Unfortunately, it is all negative, and people don't buy the products that she shills. They want to see her and read about her. And even the people who say they don't, they do, because it's all Schadenfreude. But at the same time, they do not want to buy those products that are associated with her. So he definitely got Sussexed in that respect.
I just love Marcus Anderson thinking, "You
Yes.
stupid cow! Like, how many times have I told you don't be a bitch in public with the cameras on you?" Like, his face there is just absolute abject horror. So, Paula, how do you rate where Meghan stands now? Because we've got the axe scene from the fashion world. She continues to push Was Never. The emails started again this week. And she has this MasterChef Australia appearance coming up later this month. She's trying to pump this as well. It's the biggest TV show in Australia. But I think the fact that she's making or getting the contestants to make, look at that, a dish fit for a duchess. How on earth can she claim that that isn't cashing in on royalty, that that isn't a direct contravention of the Sandringham Summit? Because do you remember she was really angry when the MasterChef producers used the term royalty to plump up her visit. But I'm sorry, if she's using duchess, in my view, that still goes against the, well, I would argue the not just the moral of the Sandringham Summit, but actually the letter of the law when it comes to the Sandringham Summit. And also, Paula, by the way, I think she would have been paid for this. A lot of money. I mean, this was not something she was doing for charity.
No, she doesn't do charity. Her charity is at home, isn't it? But the other issue is with that, she also has HRH stationery that she has sent to friends before. So, I think she's just getting quite hypocritical and likes to get angry with everyone but herself, doesn't she? And the other thing is, I think it's going to be released at the same time. If you read the Times of London article, she is reportedly working on a cookbook, which will be interesting. I mean, there's only so many one-pot pastas you can do. However, she still wants to be in this arena. And you talk about the as ever emails that come out. It's the same crap, really, over and over. It's honey, something about being sweet, honey, tea, flower petals, buy my booze. There's only so many emails exhorting you to do this. And again, it's the perfect summer day with her with a basket of fruit, apples, which makes no sense because she's not making applesauce. So, it's just, and she also is still using, frankly, if you look at all these photos and videos, they're all still from the Netflix shoot. She's not doing any brand new photos. So, I think she's letting it run dry. I've also reported that every business in the States has a 5-year runway to lose money. You are allowed to lose money for 5 years. You can run a lot through that business to get it all off on taxes, to get tax breaks. So she's got about maybe 2 years left, in which time I believe she will sunset this company and raise up through another, which she will get another 5-year runway.
The one and only, which is this phrase that she keeps using at the moment. Paula, when you look at the overall, though, I still believe that the UK trip was a total epic disaster. And I understand they got the private meeting with the King and Queen, but just hear me out on this, right? Because what she didn't receive was the photo opportunity that she so desperately wanted. What she didn't get was the chance to unveil the children's faces at a public royal event or royal adjacent event, which would have then allowed her to spend the next year pimping out the kids as much as possible for her business. Now, I know all of the briefing is, oh no, it's Meghan who didn't want to reveal the children's faces. Well, we all know that's a total lie because we can see how close she's come to doing it time and again on Instagram. So she didn't get that. But also she's now boxed herself in, as has Harry, in terms of the security in the future, because she's proven what I've said for many, many months, Paula, that it is absolutely logistically possible for her to slip into the country on a private jet, go and see the king absolutely privately, be protected by royal security while in palace grounds, and then fly out sight unseen, no paparazzi photographs, no genuine security threat. Of course, if there are any, and we know this week, Paula, in the United Kingdom, we have had the assassination of my friend Anne Widdecombe for political reasons, the former Tory minister. So I'm not saying that there is no risk in the United Kingdom, but if there is any genuine threat to Prince Harry and Meghan Markle, then they get the Met Police security there. So I don't really buy into this idea that Harry finally securing the private meeting at Highgrove overturned what I actually think has been a real disaster in terms of their future strategy. Because what the hell do they do now? What do they do for the next year? Meghan has to keep the kids covered up, which she doesn't want to do, and makes them look weird and creepy and all of those things that we've discussed before.
In a room filled with people who have dedicated their lives to the artistry of clothing, Meghan's entrance was seen as incredibly self-serving. She was sucking all the oxygen out of the room. She wanted the show to be about her, not the clothes. But the real breaking point for Balenciaga wasn't just a late arrival. It was what happened immediately after the show. Meghan's PR machine went into overdrive, releasing a statement that stunned the fashion industry. Her spokesperson claimed that Meghan and Pierpaolo had worked closely together, collaborating on design for key moments on the world stage, describing her appearance as the culmination of many years of artistry and friendship. For a design house like Balenciaga, this was a massive, unauthorized overreach. To suggest that a celebrity, even a duchess, is collaborating on designs with a legendary creative director during his highly stressful debut show is seen as incredibly insulting to the actual designers, pattern makers, and tailors who do the work. To make matters worse, Piccioli himself later quietly deflated the entire best friend narrative. In an interview with The Cut at his after-party, he casually revealed that he and Meghan had simply text-messaged over the years, and that she had simply reached out to him to ask if she could come to the show. In other words, she essentially invited herself, and then claimed credit for his creative vision. The brand reportedly paid an estimated $250,000 to fly her in, host her in luxury suites, and dress her, only to have her team hijack his big moment. One fashion insider reportedly asked, "Who does she think she is? Beyoncé?" While Meghan was being frozen out of Paris, a very different kind of fashion event was taking place right in her husband's home country, and she wasn't invited to that one either, despite being in Europe at the time.
Well, that's true. First of all, let me just say I'm so sorry about your friend Anne. That's
Thank
horrible.
you. It's been
And
difficult week.
I can only imagine. My heart goes out to you, and I'm really sorry. As for Meghan, we still have time. There's still the Diana doc that will be released next year on the 30th anniversary of Diana's death. And of course, she wants that to be as big as possible. And we don't know what happened in Highgrove. And, a lot of people are saying it's a win for them. It's a win for them. But what actually was said there? And Camilla was there. So it couldn't have been too nicey-nicey. You know what I mean?
I do. I completely do. And then, of course, we had the total contrast, Paula, of what I think is not only royalty, which obviously makes everyone far more excited, but actually the perfectly curated brand. And by the way, I'm not saying that William and Catherine have tried to do that. Actually, I think the best brands in the world are the brands that are natural and that come through genuine love and actually come through an authenticity that the public picks up on because they know that you're not fakes. But actually, Harry and Meghan thought it was going to be their week and they had planned to unveil the children at the big Invictus 1 year countdown. What we actually had was, I think, a balding and odd looking, sort of cocky Prince Harry at that event on his own. Yet on the same day, we saw Catherine and William being the most lovely married couple at the polo with a little bit of PDA, which I think they probably knew would very easily bump Harry's awkward hugs with Alison Hammond off the front pages. But actually more significant, Paula, was what we saw over the weekend at Wimbledon, because Catherine was absolutely adored on her own on the Saturday, where she received a standing ovation as she went to the royal box, where there were even cheers of "We Love Kate" from the tennis fans as she presented the trophy for the women's singles. But then on the Sunday, the big day, the men's final, we got a glimpse of what Harry, and let's just be very clear about this, has been so afraid of for so long. Because it was the start, and this has happened over a long period of time, Paula, and I think it is being done very gradually, but it was the start of Prince George, and particularly Princess Charlotte, who seems very adept at a young age to royal duties, starting to take just that little bit of spotlight, which is what royalty is about, right? Regeneration. And for Harry, I think it's a disaster because he looks increasingly old. I mean, I don't know if you saw the Joe Marler podcast. And by the way, I would not blame you if you didn't watch it. But I mean, how on earth was, it was revolting, right?
Well, it was weird. It was just weird. And it was almost like, I felt like his eyes were red. It was bad lighting. It was just him trying to force being a lad, but also at the same time trying to remind everybody that he was prince of the land and a duke, and just call me the duke. And, here's the problem with Catherine bringing the children to Wimbledon. It's the same thing that happened when Uncle Andy went from being Prince Andrew to Uncle Andy, when Harry and William were starting to come out, and everyone knew that his pecking order had just really plummeted, and he got a little frantic. And I think Harry's getting a little frantic. But also, you brought up the Invictus event, and it was very sweet of you to do the photos of Harry, and it looked like it was in a crowded room when, it wasn't actually that crowded. Our friend Tom Sykes actually went to that. Our friend Tom Sykes went to that, and it was inside the event. It was barren, and it was quite sad. And the second every person found out that Wimbledon and Catherine and William were going, they all just left the room. So it is quite sad. It's weird. And what the question now is, Dan, did Harry raise that $25 million he needed to?
No
because I don't think he did.
Way.
The legendary fashion house Chanel recently celebrated its art embroidery fellowships in partnership with the King's Foundation. And where did they host this ultra-exclusive, incredibly prestigious event? In the gardens of Highgrove House, the private residence of King Charles. While high-fashion royalty gathered in the King's own gardens to celebrate true craftsmanship, Meghan was reportedly left sitting in her hotel, working on her upcoming cooking project. The contrast here is devastating for the Sussex brand. It proves that the luxury fashion industry has chosen its side. They are aligning themselves with the quiet, authentic prestige of the working royal family, like Queen Camilla, who has a long-standing, elegant relationship with Chanel, rather than the chaotic, commercialized PR storms of Montecito. High-end luxury brands do not need controversy. They do not want negative press, and they certainly do not want a guest who behaves like a mean girl in the front row. Insiders noted that during the previous Paris show, Meghan was even caught on camera giggling as a model tripped on the runway, forcing her friend Marcus Anderson to visibly quiet her down. It was a moment of pure high school behavior that horrified the serious fashion crowd. This fashion freeze-out comes at the worst possible time for Meghan. With her lifestyle brand, American Riviera Orchard, facing ongoing delays, and her Netflix cooking show being relegated to the daytime Emmy categories, she desperately needs the glamour of high fashion to keep her brand relevant. But as journalists like Paula Froelich have pointed out, every new business in the United States typically has a 5-year runway to write off losses on taxes. Meghan is reaching the end of that runway. Without major fashion endorsements, without the support of houses like Dior, Balenciaga, or Chanel, her commercial viability is shrinking. High fashion was supposed to be her shield, her way of proving she didn't need the British royal family to be a global icon. Instead, her reputation for being difficult, demanding, and self-serving has left her standing outside the gates of Paris Couture Week. And while Prince Harry tries to recreate his cheeky chappy image by serving food from trucks at the Warrior Games and sitting 8 rows back at the NBA Finals, the high society doors are quietly, firmly locking him and his wife out. The fashion world is built on illusions, but the illusion of Meghan Markle's high fashion dominance has officially shattered. But I want to know what you think. Was Balenciaga right to freeze Meghan out of Paris Couture Week after her behavior last year, or do you think the fashion industry is being too harsh on the Duchess? And can she survive this latest branding crisis without the backing of major designers? Drop your thoughts in the comments section below. I'm heading down there to read your replies right now. If you enjoyed this deep dive, please make sure to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the notification bell so you never miss another raw, unfiltered royal update.